Now, the saving grace is that whomever applied this polyurethane to the painting did it atop a dirty painting. Now that is, there's some varnish residue or surface grime that was sitting atop this paint layer. And that's really important because polyurethane forms a mechanical bond to whatever it touches, as opposed to a chemical bond. And so the surface of this painting, with all of that impasto, that is the texture of the brushwork, all those little nooks and crannies, provide a ton of surface area for this polyurethane to adhere to. And the fact that this painting was coated with an old varnish or had some surface grime on it prevented this polyurethane from forming an extremely strong bond with the paint layer. That is, it bonded primarily to the old varnish and surface grime. And that old varnish and surface grime acted as kind of a release agent. And that release agent made it possible for me to use an incredibly sharp scalpel to slowly chip away at this polyurethane. Now, as easy as it looks, let me assure you, it is not and was not. And that was something that I had to raise with my client. Anytime you have to remove polyurethane from a painting, there runs a very high risk of damage to the painting. Now, whether you're using chemical stripping agents or solvents or mechanical means like I'm doing here, even if you're incredibly delicate and work very slowly, there's still a chance that some damage occurs. Now, this polyurethane has bonded to that old varnish, but in some places it's bonded to the paint itself. And as you can see, even if I'm chipping up little specks of it, some of that polyurethane is going to pull up some of the original paint. And there's just no way to avoid that. I can use a sharp blade, I can go very slow, and if that polyurethane is grabbing onto that paint layer, there is a chance that it's going to pull it up. Now, I talked to my client extensively about this, and that's really important because this is the type of project where even if you have a good plan, even if you have good practices and techniques, and even if you've done it before, there's just no predicting how it's going to turn out. After all, these are unique objects made by people, and so there's always an X factor when you work on a piece like this. So I had a long discussion with my client about the realities of this piece, that in best case scenario, we would end up with a gorgeous painting underneath that had no damage. But in worst case scenario, the client had to understand that this painting could be damaged. That even if I take all precautions, there is a possibility that this conservation will not be successful. And I needed my client to be very clear-eyed about that reality. Now, luckily, my client trusted me and said, go ahead, I want to see what you can do, indemnified me from any losses, and I started to work on this piece. Now, had I any concern that the risk of failure was higher than the risk of success, I wouldn't have taken on this project. But I've worked on literally hundreds of Alton paintings, and I know that they're incredibly well-painted, well-built, and really robust. Plus, I've done this before. I've removed polyurethane by scraping many times. And all of those factors, combined with my experience, led me to believe that this would be a successful project, even if it wasn't 100% perfect 100% of the time. So I started scraping. And it looks pretty easy, but rest assured, it's incredibly difficult. It's a delicate balance of force and resistance, and making sure that you are moving fluidly, but not too fast, and kind of present in the moment. So this is definitely not one where I'm zoning out to podcasts or listening to music. I was working in complete silence, trying to focus on the work at hand as much as I could. That said, it's an incredibly long and tedious process that at times was unbelievably frustrating and had me banging my head against the wall.